Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rake the Take, a golf betting podcast hosted by me, Chris Lewis. And this week we got the Masters. It's finally here, baby. The best week of the golf season. At least one of them. I could argue the Open is right up there. I love the Open Championship. But I love the Masters too. It's an amazing event, and I love Augusta National. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. There are very few words you could use to describe the beauty of this place. Which is just makes it such a amazing watch on TV. It is just one of the best places in the world. Especially if you're a golf fan. But yeah, this course should need very little introduction if you're listening to this podcast. You fellow betting psychopaths, you. However, it is approximately a 7,500 yard par 72, not a par 68, Bryson. And it does require every skill imaginable to be able to win this event. It's a true test from tee to green and on the greens. Even though it does favor longer hitters, I will say, but accuracy is it can be very critical this week. That you can be a little wayward off the tee and do well here. I'm not saying you can't, but it just is all about being in the right positions for your second shot. That is really the key for this course. Strategic placement of the ball is so necessary to be able to establish success on approach. In Augusta, as many people know, it is a second shot golf course by design. If you look at the greens and the complexes around the greens, there's a lot of undulation. There's a lot of runoff areas. There, are some difficult bunkers to get up and down from. You just cannot put yourself in difficult positions around the greens. And that's why, from a short game perspective, it is one of the most difficult places in the world to be able to do stuff at. Around the greens, you need to be able to have knowledge of where to be able to kind of run balls out, and because of so many of these slopes and weird kind of movements around the greens. And I will say, putting is probably the least predictive of the major strokes gained metrics at this event. Even though the greens are known to be so difficult, they make great players look foolish and great putters look foolish. So, historically also, it's like you look at guys like Scotty Scheffler and Bubba Watson, Sergio Garcia, Hideki Matsuyama. They have not necessarily been the best putters throughout their career, but they have done tremendously well at Augusta National because they are strategic players. They know where to put the ball, they know where to attack, and that is really the key of being able to kind of take down Augusta National and get a green jacket. You have to be very smart. It takes a very high IQ type of player to be able to win this event. And so, yeah, at a basic level, I feel like I've described what it takes to kind of do well at this course. But it cannot take a short paragraph to really describe all the intricacies and the necessary elements it takes to do well at Augusta National. It is truly a unique golf course. And there are very few places that are like it. There are places to try to emulate it and steal ideas from it, but they fail to really truly capture the magic that is this place. But yeah, let's get into the picks. First off, we got Collin Morikawa. Collin Morikawa is a two-time major champion, of course, and he's been in great form. He's been playing well throughout 2025, well throughout 2024, but he had no wins. He has not won since 2023, and before that, not even a win since 2021, where he won the DP World Championship and the Open Championship. But throughout this time, Morikawa has improved on a lot of skill sets. He's been great around the greens with the short game. The putter has improved a lot. The around the green game and the chipping has really improved a lot. They are now weapons, you could say. Obviously, the approach play still excellent. Obviously, the accuracy still excellent. He may lack a little bit of distance, but overall, he is a complete player. He's a top 5 player in the world, no doubt in my mind. And, his Masters history has been great. He's got a fifth in 2022, tie for 10th in 2023, tie for third in 2024. I mean, that's a great trend for him in order to get his green jacket. He's been playing great over the last 3 years. And I will say that if it weren't for a Russell Henley chip in for Eagle at Bay Hill, Morikawa probably would have won the Arnold Palmer Invitational. I'll say this. I'll take him at any price at or above 10 to 1. And if there is any golfer, if you were to ask me, if there's only one golfer you could bet this week, it would be Collin Morikawa. I would say that without a doubt in my mind. There's pretty much nobody else close in terms of value on the odds board to Collin Morikawa, especially on the outright market. He is a great pick for this week. I would definitely take him, no matter what. If you're listening to this podcast, please take Collin Morikawa. I beg of you. But yeah, Jon Rahm. He's the next on my card. Obviously a former Masters champion, former U.S. Open champion, and many people are kind of doubting him, because there are some good reasons for that. He didn't really have a good year last year in 2024 at the majors. After leaving to go to LIV, his only good start in the majors was at the Open at Royal Troon, where he finished in the top 10. But statistically, he's still been great. He's in the top 5 and basically every LIV event or DP World Tour event that he tees it up in, top 5 or top 10. And even though he had a terrible meltdown at the Olympics, he was still very impressive overall. He should have won that event and brought home a medal, no question. But still, if you look at the complete profile, he's in the 99th percentile in driving, 93rd percentile in approach, 98th percentile around the greens, and the 78th percentile in putting. And while the putting has gone down a bit, he is still a great putter, and I don't think that will be a concern. He has great history at Augusta National, and that should go without saying because he is a champion. But, he's just the last 5 years, he's been a top 20 machine at this course. He knows it so well. It fits his game great. He's a very smart player, and, I think Rahm is going to come into this event motivated, given that people are doubting him, people that, really don't think that he is the same player that he used to be. But from my measure, he is still a top 5 player in the world. And, I think at 16 to 1 or higher, that's a fine price. 15 to 1, I would probably take that too if he went down to that. 14 to 1, I don't know. Probably would stay off at that point, but he's at 16 to 1, and I think that's a fine price for the Spaniard. He should be in the mix this week, no doubt in my mind. After that, going into the mid-tier of guys, we got Robert McIntyre. And McIntyre's been great. He's been in excellent form this year. The last year and a half, he's had, in 42 starts, he's had 20 top 20 finishes, including 2 wins, at the Canadian Open and the Scottish Open. And he has become a complete player, with no major weaknesses. He's in the 92nd percentile in driving, 92nd percentile in approach, 89th percentile around the greens, and the 76th percentile in putting. His mentality is great at these events as well. He's fearless. As shown by in 2023 when he was battling Rory McIlroy down the stretch at the Scottish Open to try to win that event. Obviously, he didn't get it done. Got it done last year, but I think that just shows his determination and how, the moment is not too big for him. For a Scottish player to win their National Open, I think that's a tremendous feat in his own right because of how much pressure was on him, how much expectation was on him to be able to do something like that. And he beat great players doing it. And his Augusta history is also pretty solid. He has finished tied for 12th and tied for 23rd in his 2 appearances here. And also he's a lefty, so the course does fit his eye well, but that narrative might be a little bit overblown. Regardless, he's a great player. He should not go on the radar this week. I would bet him at any number above 40 to 1. After that, we got Corey Connors. Corey Connors, he kind of had a slow start to 2025, with some really bad putting. But it's overall, though, I will say the short game has improved so much, especially over the last month. He's been playing great. He's been in contention for basically every event that he's played, including a third place finish at API and a tie for sixth finish at the Players. His Augusta history is very underrated. He's had 3 top 10 finishes over his last 7 starts, which is yeah. But I mean, if you look at his percentiles, 96th percentile in driving, 92nd percentile in approach. He's just such a good ball striker. He's not going to be in bad positions. But also 67th percentile around the greens and the 71st percentile in putting. I mean, for Corey Connors, these are great signs, man. I mean, these are great signs. I mean, he typically really struggles with those skill sets. So yeah, I feel like there's very little reason to doubt Connors this week, outside of the lack of real true win equity. But yeah, like McIntyre, I would bet Connors at any price above 40 to 1. Moving off that, we got Sergio Garcia. And with Sergio, he's been playing great on LIV. He has 16 top 20s, 8 top 5s, 2 wins at LIV Andalusia and LIV Hong Kong. Oh, that's just over his last 24 starts in general. And obviously, the top 20s, like, who really cares about that? Because these are LIV events, they're smaller fields. I mean, it's like, yeah, you finished over half of the players, like, good job. But, I will say that, the top 5s are impressive. Like, he's done really well there. And the complete skill set is there. He's driving it great. The approach play is great. And also the short game has really improved. And especially the putting, which is why he's been able to have so many good finishes. That's really what kind of brings Sergio down when he's not really playing very well. But yeah, I mean, he includes his Masters history includes a victory, of course. That's why he's able to play at this event. But he's been kind of a boomer bust pick throughout his career. There's a lot of missed cuts in there, but given his recent form, I think anything above 50 to 1 or higher is gonna be great. He should be a threat to win his second green jacket, even at this age. But yeah, kind of moving more on to the long shots. I really like Davis Thompson. Even though he's a debutante, I love his game. He's got a complete game, as shown by how well he played in 2024. He's had a little bit of a slow start this year, but still some really high marks around the greens and on approach. He just has a lot of skill, and he's in the 89th percentile in driving, 86th percentile in approach, 88th percentile around the greens, 59th percentile with the putter. You can be a little streaky there, either really struggling or it's either really good. But, I mean, that's not too much of a concern for me. Like I was saying earlier, you got guys like Will Zalatoris, Ludwig Oberg, who have played well at this event, who were very young players. So, I mean, I would not discount a debutante at this point anymore. I mean, we have so much more technology at our fingertips to be able to kind of be able to analyze these courses from afar, whether it be like through a simulation or something like that. So, I think Davis Thompson will be able to kind of overcome a lot of that inexperience. He's just a great young player, and he's going to break through at one of these events at some point. So why not this week? And I would bet him at any number, 80 to 1 or above. But most of the books have him priced way higher than that, so I wouldn't really worry about it. And next we got Aaron Rai, and I will say it's bring out the rye bread and mustard, Grandma. It is Aaron Rai time. I'm going to say that every time I bet him. But yeah, he's a debutant also. But, given his skill sets, I do think he should do well here. I mean, he's a good driver of the golf ball. 99th percentile in accuracy. 92nd percentile in approach. The short game has been his biggest flaw. But now he's 62nd around the greens. 66th percentile in putting. Some big time improvements over the last year and a half. Where he's had 16 top 20s, 6 top 5s, and a win at the Wyndham Championship. He's going to put himself in good positions, have excellent ball striking. I think Rai could really impress this first year at Augusta. And like Davis Thompson, I would bet him at any number 80 to 1 or above. But he's also priced way above that, given his debutante status. After that, got JJ Spaun. JJ Spaun, he's become one of the most improved players in all of golf. He's become a top 10 approach player in the world, ranking in the 98th percentile. But his driving has been great. His short game has been good as well. He's in the 78th percentile in driving the golf ball, with above average distance and accuracy. He ranks in the 56th percentile around the greens and in putting. So, while those are not critical weapons for him, he's still very capable of those clubs. And in his last 25 starts, he has 8 top 20s and 4 top 5s. But also, if you kind of move that beyond to the top 40s, including that, he has 14 top 40 finishes in his last 25 starts, which is a very impressive rate for a player of his caliber. And if you look at his contention at the Players this year, he was really not scared of the moment at all, and he was playing great golf. His lone start at Augusta was in 2022, where he finished T23rd, and he gained strokes in all categories. So it is kind of a good course fit for him. So with his improved overall status, I definitely will not sleep on JJ Spaun this week. I like Thompson and Rye. I would take Spaun in any number above 80-1, but his price is also, pretty well north of that, like those guys, just because of his lack of history. Taylor Pendrith. Taylor Pendrith finally finds his way here, after an amazing 2024 season. I mean, over his last 35 starts in the last year and a half, he's had 17 top 20s, 4 top 5s, and a win at the CJ Cup Byron Nelson. He's a great ball striker, ranking in the 96th percentile in driving, with great distance, a little bit of average accuracy, 89th percentile on approach. After a rough start with the putter this year, he has reclaimed his putting form from last season, and he now ranks in the 70th percentile overall. The main concern with Pendrith is around the greens, where he ranks in the 22nd percentile. It's become a major concern for him this year in comparison to last year. So while that definitely worries me, he's just so good in the other categories. I just can't pass him up. And I would bet him at any number outside of 85-1, and that should not be an issue to find, like these other guys I'm talking about, that are more the longer shots. There's some really good value with some of these guys. They're really priced way above maybe where they should be if this was not a major championship. And after that we got Michael Kim, and looking at Michael Kim, there are very few players who you could say that this season has been, more like, there are very few players who have had a more meaningful season than Michael Kim. And several years ago, you would have been foolish if you would have said that, Michael Kim would have been 28th in data golf going into the Masters in 2025. I mean, he was struggling with injury. He was playing really bad. But really, this season has been the accumulation of a lot of improvements from 2023 and 2024. He's been a very solid approach player in that time, very solid around the greens, and great with the putter as well. It's just really been the driving. That's his biggest skill set that's improved the most. And because of that, he's able to have some amazing results this year. Great finishes at the WM Phoenix Open, the Cognizant Classic, and the Arnold Palmer Invitational. All of those were T6 or higher. And, if you look at the complete skill set that he has, 64th percentile off the tee, 89th percentile on approach, 81st percentile around the green, 72nd percentile with the putter. Those are all very good marks. And it just goes to show you how important it is to be able to be in good positions off the tee when you have excellent ability with your irons, wedges, and putter. And, I would bet Kim at any price above 160-1. The driver is the biggest concern for me, of course, but he's improved so much. He's an outstanding long shot bet. And if not, he's also a great follow on Twitter. Actually, I should say X, formerly known as Twitter. But yeah, check him out on X. He's pretty funny. But yeah, he's become a great golfer this year as well. Definitely do not sleep on Michael Kim. All right, we got 3 more guys to talk about. Laurie Cantor, he's next on my card. Former LIV player, DP World Tour standout. He's done an excellent job over his last 29 starts. proven the live executives wrong for not giving him a contract extension. Over his last 29 starts, he has 10 top 20s, 6 top 5s, and 2 wins at the European Championship and the Bahrain Championship. But also, this doesn't even include a T25 finish at the Open Championship at Royal Troon. He has shown himself to be a very capable player. He's got great distance off the tee and accuracy, and he's also a very good approach player. And he's just a great ball striker all around. The main concerns with him are with the short game, around the greens and with the putter. And he may be a little bit of an unknown, but I still love his form and how he's been playing. And he's just been like the highs are so high. He's just so close to contention very often right now on the DP World Tour. So, I'd bet him at any number above 165 to 1. He can be maybe kind of a little bit of an unknown in this type of an event, given he's never played the Masters before. But regardless, I think he's a great bet for this week. Poston, JT Poston. And, Poston, if you really look at his year this year, his statistics are way better than his results. 74th percentile in driving, 86th percentile in approach, 88th percentile around the greens, and 63rd percentile in putting. And his putting usually ranks much higher than this. It's probably, historically, it's been his best skill set, probably, you would say. But he had a really rough start on the greens to begin 2025, but over his last couple events, he's really kind of brought that back up a little bit. So that's very encouraging, kind of going into this week. He seems to, kind of have a complete game right now, potentially. It's just a matter of consistency with him. But his last 2 years at Augusta, he's finished tied for 34th and tied for 30th, with positive marks in all strokes gained categories, besides a bad year off the tee in 2023. Even though he did not contend at those events, I like the overall profile that he shows statistically right now, given that he's been a complete player, and he has some comfort level with the course. I mean, like a T30th, T34th is nothing to sneeze at. Those are some fine results for a player of his caliber at Augusta National. And so it just seems like he could be a good long shot bet, and I would bet him at any number above 175 to 1. And then finally, we got Kevin Yu. And Kevin Yu is a tremendous ball striker. He ranks in the 92nd percentile in driving, 89th percentile in approach. He was able to have a tremendous year last year because of all of that. Over his last 38 starts, he has 12 top 20 finishes, 3 top 5s, and a win at the Sanderson Farms, where he earned the invitation for this event by winning that. And the main issues with Kevin Yu are with the short game. It could be a major problem. He's in the 28th percentile around the greens and the 15th percentile with the putter. However, he has such a discount this week, given his lack of history at any major championship, really, even Augusta. I mean, you'd have to go back to 2020 and 2019 for Kevin Yu's first appearances at the U.S. Open. He hasn't been in a major since. But yeah, I do like the tee to green game overall. I think he's a very good player. It's just the putter at times is a little wonky. But putting is random. Who knows? I think any number outside of 250 to 1 is a great price for Kevin Yu. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I got this week. We got Morikawa, we got Rahm, we got McIntyre, Corey Connors, Sergio, Davis Thompson, Aaron Rai, JJ Spawn, Taylor Pendrith, Michael Kim, Laurie Cantor, JT Poston, and Kevin Yu. And if you're wondering yourself, did I bet Patrick Cantlay this week? You bet I fucking did. But I'm not touting it out. It's just so I can sleep at night in case he wins. It's just that's where we're at this point with Patrick Cantlay. I mean, he very well could be a top 10 player to win this event very easily. I just can't. I just can't. I can't tout it. If you want to join me, you can join me. But we're going down the ship together if it doesn't happen. But regardless, I got a bunch of other guys who I think are good picks for this week who are not Patrick Cantlay, so we don't have to talk about him very much. But yeah, if you enjoyed the podcast, thank you for listening. And best of luck if you tail. you know, I think this year has been an interesting year. If you've been listening and tailing the bets for this podcast, we've had a lot of you know good finishes and results, but still no outrights this year. Some first round leaders, that's been fun. Some good top fives, but no outrights. And I'm hoping that can change this week. I feel good about it. I think we've been in good positions. And it's just all about trusting the process, baby. And just ready for the magic to happen. Just ready for the magic of Augusta National to take over. And with that, thank you so much for listening and enjoy the week.